termination letter hit Marcus Chen's desk at exactly 9:47 a.m. He stared at it, the words blurring together. Chronic tardiness. Final warning ignored. Effective immediately, while his supervisor stood over him with crossed arms and zero sympathy. And if you've ever been punished for doing the right thing, click now. Because what Marcus didn't know was that the woman he'd stopped to help that morning, she was about to change his entire life. Marcus had been late. Again, the fourth time in 6 weeks. But this time wasn't like the others. This time, he'd had a reason that actually mattered. He'd been driving to work at 6:30 a.m., like he did every morning, taking the back roads to avoid traffic because he couldn't afford to be late again. His daughter, Sophie, was 7 years old and needed to be at school by 8. He'd already dropped her off at his neighbor, Mrs. Patterson's house, the woman who watched Sophie before and after school, while Marcus worked, and he'd been making good time. Then he saw her, a woman, collapsed on the sidewalk near the bus stop. Her briefcase spilled open, papers scattering in the morning wind. She was clutching her chest, her face pale and twisted in pain. Marcus didn't think. He just pulled over. "Ma'am? Ma'am, can you hear me?" He knelt beside her, his hand on her shoulder. She was maybe 50, dressed in an expensive suit that looked out of place on this rundown street corner. "My chest," she gasped. "Can't breathe. Heart attack, or something close to it." Marcus pulled out his phone, dialing 911 with shaking hands while loosening her collar, remembering the CPR training he'd taken years ago when Sophie was born. The operator's voice was calm and mechanical. Asking questions he answered as clearly as he could, while the woman's breathing became more labored. "Ambulance is 8 minutes out," the operator said. "Stay with her. Keep her calm." 8 minutes felt like 8 hours. Marcus held her hand, talking to her in low, steady tones. "You're going to be okay. Help is coming. Just breathe. Slow breaths. That's it. What's your name?" "Victoria," she managed. "Victoria Hartwell." "I'm Marcus. Just hold on, Victoria. You're doing great." When the ambulance finally arrived, the paramedics took over with professional efficiency. Victoria was loaded onto a stretcher, oxygen mask over her face. And Marcus gave his information to one of the EMTs in case they needed a witness statement. By the time he got back in his car, it was 7:43 a.m. He was going to be late, very late. He called his supervisor, Dan Morrison, while speeding toward the office. The phone rang 4 times before Dan picked up. "Marcus, please tell me you're in the parking lot." "Dan, I'm so sorry. There was a medical emergency. A woman collapsed. I had to call 911. I had to stay with her until—" "Marcus." Dan's voice was flat, cold. "I don't care if the Pope himself needed CPR. You've been late 4 times in 6 weeks. We had a conversation about this. I gave you a final warning. I know, but this was— I'll see you when you get here. We need to talk." The line went dead. Marcus made it to the office at 8:17 a.m., an hour and 17 minutes late. He worked at Hartwell Industries, a massive logistics and supply chain corporation that employed over 15,000 people across the country. Marcus was in the warehouse division, a supervisor managing a team of 12 people who loaded and tracked shipments. It was decent pay, good benefits, and it let him provide for Sophie after his wife, Lily, had died 3 years ago from cancer. He couldn't lose this job. He couldn't. But when Dan called him into the office 20 minutes after he clocked in, Marcus knew it was over. "Sit down," Dan said, not looking at him. "Marcus, Saturday. I don't enjoy this," Dan continued, sliding the termination letter across the desk. "But you were warned. Multiple times. And I can't keep making exceptions. Dan, please. I had to help that woman. She could have died." "That's very noble, Marcus. Truly. But noble doesn't change the fact that you've been unreliable for weeks. And in this business, reliability is everything." "I have a daughter," Marcus said, his voice cracking. I'm all she has. Please, give me one more chance. Dan finally looked at him, and for a moment, Marcus thought he saw something human flicker in his supervisor's eyes. But it vanished as quickly as it came. I'm sorry. The decision's been made. Pack up your things. Security will escort you out. Marcus sat there, numb, as the words sank in. Fired. He was fired for saving someone's life. The walk to his desk felt like a death march. His co-workers watched him pack his few belongings into a cardboard box, photos of Sophie, a coffee mug she'd painted for him, a beat-up notebook, and no one said a word. Security escorted him through the building like he was a criminal. When he reached the parking lot, he sat in his car and stared at the steering wheel. How was he going to tell Sophie? How was he going to pay rent, insurance, groceries? He pulled out his phone and stared at the emergency fund balance in his banking app. $1,247. That would last maybe 6 weeks if he was lucky. His phone buzzed. A text from Mrs. Patterson. Sophie's asking when you'll pick her up. She made you a drawing at school. Can't wait to show you. Marcus closed his eyes and tried not to cry. He'd done the right thing. He knew he'd done the right thing. So why did it feel like the world was punishing him for it? That evening, Marcus picked up Sophie and forced a smile he didn't feel. She bounced out with a paper crown on her head and a drawing clutched in her small hands. Daddy, look what I made. She thrust the picture at him, a crayon drawing of the two of them holding hands under a rainbow. The words, Best Daddy, were written across the top in wobbly letters. Marcus's throat tightened. It's beautiful, sweetheart. They drove home to their small 2-bedroom apartment. Marcus made dinner spaghetti again, because it was cheap, and tried to figure out how to explain what had happened. But every time he opened his mouth, the words stuck. So instead, he said nothing. He helped her with homework, watched her favorite show, tucked her into bed, and sat alone in the dark living room wondering how everything had fallen apart so quickly. His phone buzzed at 9:47 p.m. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer, but something made him swipe to accept. Hello? Is this Marcus Chen? The voice was professional, female, unfamiliar. Yes. Who's this? My name is Caroline Meyer. I'm the executive assistant to Victoria Hartwell, CEO of Hartwell Industries. Miss Hartwell would like to speak with you. Are you available tomorrow morning at 10 a.m.? Marcus's heart stopped. I'm sorry. Did you say Victoria Hartwell? Yes, the woman you assisted this morning. She's recovering well, thanks to you, and she's very eager to thank you in person. The room tilted. Wait, the woman I helped that was Victoria Hartwell? The CEO? Yes, Mr. Chen. She'd like to meet with you at the corporate headquarters, 23rd floor. Would that work for you? Marcus's mind was racing. Victoria Hartwell. The Victoria Hartwell. The woman who'd built Hartwell Industries from a small freight company into a multi-billion-dollar empire. The woman whose face was on the cover of Forbes and Fortune. The woman who was, technically, the person who owned the company that had just fired him. Mr. Chen? Yes, I can be there. Excellent. I'll have your name added to the security list. Miss Hartwell looks forward to meeting you. The line went dead. Marcus didn't sleep that night. By the time his alarm went off at 6 a.m., he'd already been awake for 2 hours. He dropped Sophie off at Mrs. Patterson's, showered, put on his only good suit, the one he'd worn to Lily's funeral and hadn't touched since, and drove to Hartwell Industries' corporate headquarters. The building was a gleaming glass tower in the heart of downtown, 40 stories of steel and ambition. Marcus had worked in the warehouse facility across town. He'd never been to the main office. Security checked his ID and directed him to the 23rd floor. When the elevator doors opened, he stepped into a world he'd only seen in movies, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, modern art on the walls, furniture that probably cost more than his car. A receptionist led him to a set of double doors. She knocked twice, then opened them. Miss Hartwell, Mr. Chen is here. Sent him in. Marcus stepped inside. The office was massive. Windows lined two walls, offering a panoramic view of the city. And behind a desk that looked hand-carved from exotic wood stood Victoria Hartwell. She looked different than she had on the sidewalk. Stronger, composed, powerful. She was dressed in a charcoal suit, her silver hair pulled back, her eyes sharp and assessing. But when she saw Marcus, her expression softened. Mr. Chen. She came around the desk, extending her hand. I can't tell you how grateful I am. Marcus shook her hand, still trying to find his voice. I'm just glad you're okay. Thanks to you, I am. The doctors said if you hadn't called 911 when you did, if you hadn't kept me calm and stable. She paused, emotion flickering across her face. I might not be standing here. Anyone would have done the same, but they didn't. You did. She gestured to a sitting area near the windows. Please. Sit. Marcus sat, feeling completely out of place. Victoria sat across from him, studying him with an intensity that made him uncomfortable. I did some research on you, Mr. Chen. I hope you don't mind. His stomach dropped. Research? I wanted to know who saved my life. I found out you worked in one of our warehouse facilities. Supervisor, good performance reviews, respected by your team. She paused. And I also found out you were terminated yesterday for being late because you stopped to help me. Marcus's face burned. Yes, ma'am. Who was your supervisor? Dan Morrison. She made a note on a pad of paper beside her. Then she looked back at Marcus, her expression unreadable. Mr. Chen, I'm going to be very direct with you. I built this company on the principle that good people deserve good opportunities, and you're a good person. The fact that you were fired for saving my life is unacceptable, so I'm going to make you an offer. Marcus's heart pounded. An offer? I want you to work for me, directly, here, in corporate, as my operations liaison. You'd work with all our facilities, streamline processes, report directly to me. The salary is $200,000 a year, plus benefits, plus performance bonuses. Marcus couldn't breathe. $200,000. That was more than triple what he'd been making. Miss Hartwell, I don't have a college degree. You have something more valuable. You have character, and that's something I can't teach. She stood, extending her hand again. So what do you say, Mr. Chen? Do you want a second chance? Marcus looked at her hand, at this woman who'd nearly died on a sidewalk and was now offering him a lifeline he hadn't dared dream of. He thought about Sophie, about the rent he couldn't pay, about the future that had seemed so bleak just 24 hours ago, and he reached out and shook her hand. Yes, he said, his voice thick with emotion. Yes, I do. Victoria smiled, a real, genuine smile. Good. Welcome to the team. You start Monday. Marcus's first day was overwhelming. Corner office on the 22nd floor. 2 monitors. A leather chair. His name already on the door. But 20 minutes after he arrived, Dan Morrison showed up at his door, looking uncomfortable and resentful. Nice digs, Dan said, his tone flat. Operations liaison. That's quite the promotion. From fired to executive in 72 hours. I didn't plan this, Dan. Didn't you? Dan's eyes narrowed. You helped someone. Turned out to be the CEO. Now you're up here in a corner office. You think you earned this? I saved someone's life, and I got fired for it. By you. So whatever problem you have with where I am now, that's on you. Dan's face flushed red. You're going to fail. And when you do, I'll be there to watch. Get out of my office. Marcus's first assignment was massive. Review all 15 warehouse facilities for safety issues and inefficiencies. 6 weeks. At his first facility visit, Marcus noticed things immediately. Workers skipping breaks to meet quotas, equipment overdue for maintenance, a tension in the air, people moving with urgency born from fear rather than motivation. During lunch, Marcus sat with warehouse workers. One of them, Tommy, opened up. "It's gotten worse the past year. Now it's just speed. 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 Doesn't matter if it's safe." A woman named Maria spoke quietly. "My cousin Miguel. 2 months ago. Forklift accident. He was rushing to meet quota. Broken leg, fractured ribs. Workers' comp barely covered it." Marcus spent the afternoon reviewing documentation. And that's when he found the pattern. Incident rates had increased 30% over 18 months. But the reports being sent to corporate showed a decrease. Someone was manipulating the numbers. And every single falsified report had been approved by James Brennan, VP of Logistics, a 23-year veteran. When Marcus tried to report his findings, Dan Morrison went to Victoria first, accusing Marcus of overstepping his authority. In Victoria's office, surrounded by executives, Marcus was put on the defensive. "Mr. Morrison raises a valid point," Victoria said carefully. "You're accusing a VP of falsifying records. That requires extraordinary evidence." Marcus felt the ground shifting. "I have the data." "Data can be interpreted many ways," the CFO interjected. Victoria's expression remained neutral. "Marcus, I need you to compile your findings into a formal report. But until then, stay in your lane. Understood?" It felt like a slap. "Understood." After the meeting, Victoria pulled him aside. "If what you found is true, you better be absolutely certain. Because if you're wrong, it doesn't just hurt you. It hurts me. And if I'm right, then we'll deal with it. But I need proof. Ironclad proof." Marcus worked quietly, carefully. He got an anonymous text. "Facility 12, loading dock C, 11 p.m. You'll want to see this." Someone was helping him. But who? Friday night, Marcus went to Facility 12 on the night shift. At 11 p.m., he watched from the shadows as a regional manager falsified shipment weights to avoid DOT regulations. "Corporate never checks cross-reference on night shipments," the manager said, adjusting weights on his tablet. Marcus recorded everything. When he stepped out of the shadows and identified himself, the manager went pale. "I'm following procedures. Procedures that come from upstairs." "From who?" "I'm not saying another word without a lawyer." Marcus had his evidence, but when he returned home the next morning, his car window was smashed. A message in red paint. "Back off." Victoria arrived with security within an hour. "Someone just threatened you. This is dangerous. I'm doing my job. Your job is not to get yourself killed." For the first time, Marcus saw fear in her eyes. "Tell me everything." Marcus showed her the video, the falsified reports, the pattern leading to Brennan. Victoria's jaw tightened. This isn't just about him. It's about everyone who benefited from those numbers. "You're exposing a system." She straightened. "We go to war, but we do it right. Outside investigators. Lock down the evidence. And Marcus, stay with your sister this weekend. Keep Sophie safe." That weekend, Marcus got an unexpected visitor, Dan Morrison. "I need to tell you something," Dan said, standing at Jessica's door. "I was the one sending you those warnings." Marcus stared. "Why?" "Because I'm a coward." Dan's voice broke. 3 years ago, Brennan asked me to start adjusting incident reports. I did it, and people got hurt because I was too afraid to say no. Why help me now? Because you reminded me of who I used to be. Someone who gave a damn. Dan met his eyes. When you showed up doing the right thing, even when it cost everything, I realized I could at least help someone brave enough to do what I couldn't. I need you to testify. If I do that, my career is over. I have a family, a mortgage, and if you don't, more people get hurt. Marcus leaned forward. You said you were a coward. Prove you're not. Dan was silent for a long time. Then he nodded. I'll do it, but I need immunity. Let me make a call. Victoria agreed to discuss it with legal. The next day, Dan Morrison sat in her office with attorneys and told them everything. He showed them emails, hundreds of them, dating back 3 years, instructions from Brennan to reclassify incidents, threats about what would happen if Dan didn't comply, original incident reports, and the falsified versions. By the time they finished, Victoria's expression was carved from granite. What you've done is unconscionable, she told Dan. However, the evidence you've provided is substantial. Here's what I'm prepared to offer. Full immunity from criminal prosecution in exchange for complete cooperation. You'll be terminated immediately, with no severance. Those are the terms. Dan closed his eyes. I'll take them. Over the next 2 weeks, the investigation exploded. Federal regulators got involved. OSHA opened investigations. The news picked up the story. Hartwell Industries under fire for safety violations. James Brennan was arrested on charges of falsifying federal documents. 3 other executives were placed on leave. And through it all, Marcus kept working, documenting real conditions at facilities across the country. 3 weeks later, Brennan confronted Marcus in the hallway. You're destroying this company. Brennan's face was red. I optimize numbers to save jobs. You don't understand the pressure we're under. You broke the law. People got hurt. When this blows up, it won't just be me who pays. It'll be everyone, including you. But Marcus didn't back down. The investigation continued. Brennan was convicted. The company restructured completely new safety protocols, independent oversight, realistic quotas that didn't require workers to choose between their paycheck and their well-being. 6 months after that morning on the sidewalk, Victoria created a new position, Chief Ethics and Safety Officer, $350,000 a year, with authority to shut down any operation that endangered workers. She offered it to Marcus. You've proven you can't be bought or intimidated. That's exactly what this position needs, Marcus accepted. On one condition. I want Dan Morrison on my team. Victoria's eyebrows shot up. The man who spent 3 years falsifying reports? The man who risked everything to make it right. Second chances, Victoria. That's what you gave me. She smiled. You're going to be insufferable in this role, aren't you? Probably. Good. That's exactly what I need. That evening, Marcus took Sophie to their favorite diner. I got a promotion. It means I get to help make sure workers are safe. Sophie stole a French fry from his plate. Mommy would be proud of you. Marcus's throat tightened. You think so? I know so. She always said you had the biggest heart of anyone she knew. Sophie took his hand. I'm proud of you too, Daddy. Over the next months, Marcus's team transformed safety protocols across Hartwell Industries. Incident rates dropped 37%. Lost time accidents dropped 42%. Worker retention increased 23%. But something else happened too. Working late nights with Victoria, their conversations deepened. Dinners turned into something more. They talked about loss and grief and learning to live again. 6 months after Marcus started his new job, they shared their first kiss. I never expected this, Victoria whispered. Neither did I. But I'm not sorry. They kept it quiet at first, but eventually stopped hiding. A year after that morning on the sidewalk, Marcus proposed by the lake. Will you marry me? Will you let us be your family? Yes. Victoria said through tears. Yes. I really do. The wedding was small but perfect family. Friends, workers from facilities across the country. Sophie was flower girl in her purple dress. When Marcus and Victoria kissed, Sophie cheered. That's my dad. He's married now. At the reception, Miguel Rodriguez, fully recovered from his forklift accident, hugged Marcus tightly. "You saved my life. Man, the new safety protocols, if those had been in place, my accident never would have happened." 5 years later, Marcus stood at Dan Morrison's college graduation bachelor's degree in occupational safety and health, earned while working as Marcus's deputy director. "I couldn't have done it without you," Dan said, tears in his eyes. "You saved my life, just like you saved Victoria's. You keep saving people. You saved yourself, Dan." I just opened the door. That same year, Victoria was appointed to lead a statewide task force on workplace safety reform regulations across all industries. At her swearing-in ceremony, a worker approached her. "3 years ago, I was working in dangerous conditions. Then everything changed because of what your husband exposed. My little brother works at that plant now, and he's safe because of you." Victoria pulled the woman into a hug, both crying. That evening, Sophie came to Marcus with her homework. "I have to write about someone I admire. I'm writing about you." "Sophie, you don't have to. I want to, because it's true. You taught me that doing the right thing is more important than doing the easy thing. That heroes are just regular people who choose to care." She looked up at him with Lily's eyes. "You're my hero, Daddy. You always have been." Marcus held her close, overwhelmed. "Can I tell you something, sweetheart? The day I helped Victoria, the day I got fired, I thought it was the worst day of my life. I was so scared, but you weren't wrong. No, I wasn't. Because that day taught me something important. Sometimes the worst moments, the moments that break us and scare us, those are the moments that lead us exactly where we're supposed to be." That day led me to Victoria, to a job where I could help people, to a life I never could have imagined. Sophie hugged him tighter. "I'm glad you stopped the car." "Me too, baby. Me too." That night, sitting with Victoria under the stars, she asked, "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you'd driven past me that morning?" "Sometimes, but I couldn't have. Not because I'm special, but because I'm Sophie's father. I need to be the kind of person she can be proud of, the kind who stops when someone needs help. And you've taught her to be the same. That's the legacy. Not awards or recognition, but the ripple effect. The lives changed. The families that stayed whole because someone cared." Victoria squeezed his hand. "This isn't the end, Marcus. It's just the beginning. Your choice to stop that car, it's going to ripple out for generations. We may never know all the lives we've touched." Marcus looked up at the stars, feeling the weight and wonder of it all. One choice, one moment, one decision to do the right thing, even when it cost everything. And it had given him everything he never knew he needed. To everyone watching this story, you have power you don't even realize. The choice you make in a single moment to help or to walk away, to speak up or to stay silent, to fight or to surrender, that choice can change everything. Not just for you, but for everyone around you. Marcus was just a warehouse supervisor. Victoria was just a stranger on a sidewalk. Dan was just a man with regrets. But together, through courage and honesty, and the refusal to give up, they changed thousands of lives. So the next time you see something wrong, remember this story. Remember that heroes aren't born in capes and costumes. They're born in everyday moments. When ordinary people choose courage over comfort, when they stop the car, when they speak the truth, when they stand up, even when they're shaking. You are enough. Your voice matters. Your choices matter. And somewhere, maybe right now, maybe tomorrow, maybe years from now, someone's life will be changed because you chose to care. Don't underestimate the power of doing the right thing. It might cost you everything, but it might also give you everything you never knew you needed. If this story moved you, let us know in the comments. Share it with someone who needs to hear this message. Like, subscribe, and remember, your moment is coming. When it does, be the person who stops the car. Be the person who stands up. Be the hero your story needs. Thank you for watching. And never forget, you have the power to change someone's world. Use it wisely. Use it often. Use it now.